And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week. It's vacation time, and across the country people are taking theirs, and the President of the United States is on his. And the tweets continue, albeit at a little bit lesser pace than they typically come. But the one that really caught folks' attention over the course of the past week was the one where the president acknowledged that his son's visit with a Russian lawyer in Trump Tower before the close of the 2016 campaign was, in point of fact, opposition research, or at least intended to be that. Now, the media jumped all over that, saying this was some sort of bombshell revelation, and, it really wasn't. The president said essentially the same thing a year ago in a published interview. But it points up again the fact that these are really the things that the president ought to stay well enough away from. These are kind of unforced errors, which in this particular case put either the president or his son potentially in legal harm's way. So you've got to ask why this continues. There are great messages to come out of the White House. This probably isn't one of them. But as we move into the fall, we're already inundated with primary elections and special elections in the dog days of summer. And this week, we saw a couple of very, very close contests. First, the one for governor in Kansas, the Republican primary there between the Secretary of State, Kris Kobach, and the incumbent governor, Jeff Colyer. An incredibly close race with more than 300,000 votes cast. The results right now are at less than 200, with some 10,000 provisional and absentee ballots yet to be counted. That one could go either way. This was a contest, again, between an establishment Republican, Governor Colyer, and an insurgent conservative, Kris Kobach, who had the last-minute backing of President Trump, who undoubtedly moved votes there. So with a less than 200 vote margin right now, we'll have to wait and see, but it is a continuing narrative on the Republican side of the aisle. Meanwhile, in Ohio, there was a special election for a congressional seat there, and once again, the national media descended upon that particular congressional district in record numbers. The media always overplays these special elections. They're called special elections for a reason, because they really are special. They're very localized, and ultimately they turn on local candidates, local issues, local personalities, etc. But the national media always wants to expand them into a much broader story. So what did they take from this one? In a district that Donald Trump carried by 11 points, a traditionally safe Republican seat, Troy Balderson wins over Danny O'Connor by less than 2,000 votes, with some absentee ballots and provisional ballots yet to be counted. There, I think you see a couple of things. One, there really isn't a blue wave, at least at this point, nor is there a red wave for that matter. These are really the typical knockdown, drag-out fights within particular congressional districts, and I think you're going to see that replicated across the country. What you are seeing, though, is the Democratic energy of their base, but it may be simmering a little bit. You have to watch that. And you're seeing the Republicans with a strong message, and one that they believe can counteract Democrat enthusiasm and energy in these pivotal battleground districts in the fall. That's a message largely of the economy, which is doing extremely well. That's a chapter yet to be written, but watch that. Democratic enthusiasm versus Republican message. Finally, we want to note the passing of Senator Paul Laxalt, who died this week at age 96. Ronald Reagan's closest political friend, Senator Laxalt was both the chairman of his 1976 and 1980 presidential campaigns. They got to know each other as neighboring governors. Reagan in California and Laxalt in Nevada became lifelong political and personal friends. In fact, Paul Laxalt was called the first friend throughout the 8 years of the Reagan presidency, and called the president Ron throughout that whole period, something very, very few people did. It was Paul Laxalt that gave Ronald Reagan the advice to discard his note cards in the pivotal North Carolina primary in 1976. Reagan did that, spoke from the heart, much more passionately, connected with people much better, and began to win primaries, ultimately taking that to the closest Republican nomination battle in all of our memories. So Paul Laxalt, a great friend, a great American, who said that his greatest contribution was his support of Ronald Reagan. May he rest in peace, and may light perpetual shine upon him. And so, for all of us, that is the best 60-ish seconds of our week.